I'm Corbitt with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, January the 23rd, brought to you in part by FerAppease, that revolutionary product that is scientifically proven, guys. There's only one patented appeasing pheromone, and it's FerAppease. The field tests results and the science both prove that it works, and I have countless testimonials that I can tell you about, both on high-risk cattle and low-risk cattle, on breeding heifers, you name it. Anytime you're doing anything with cattle, it calms them down, it removes their anxiety and makes them perform better. Get the original, don't get fooled by some of these knockoffs, guys. For more information, go to FerAppease.com, and don't forget to watch the interview that I recorded last summer with Dr. Rodrigo, and he's explaining how it works there at the end of this Feeder Flash episode. Also, Unionville Livestock Market in north central Missouri and Creston Livestock Market in south central Iowa. Unionville's having a regular cattle sale this coming Tuesday, and they will also have bred heifer special there. Larry Schultz got 150 fancy Angus crossbred heifers there. They're bred to low birth weight Angus and Red Angus bulls. They start calving in March. You guys don't want to miss those. They're on DVAuction.com. Then up at Creston Livestock Auction in Creston, Iowa, they've got a regular sale on February the 13th, and then they're gearing up for a big special bred cow and bred heifer sale going to be on February the 27th. Don't miss that. Those sales there on DVAuction.com. Cattle on feed report we've been waiting for. This is where it's all supposed to kind of come to a head. We're finally going to see the results with all the Mexican cattle through the system. There should be no Mexican cattle left in your feed yards in the southern plains, and we're going to see just how tight these inventory numbers are. I gave you some rough estimates on our last video. Today I have the correct, accurate cattle on feed estimates that they're going to be judging the report against when it comes out on Friday at 2 o'clock, guys. Your on-feed totals as of January the 1st are expected to be the average of the analyst guess at 96.8%. And if that low, that will be the lowest number of cattle on feed January the 1st we've had since 2017. Your placements in December are estimated to be 93.1% of a year ago. Now that, if lighter, and they will be lighter, they won't be near 100, they'll be a lot lighter. If that comes out true, which it will, that's going to be the 9th in a row report, monthly report, that we've seen your placements lighter than a year ago. Marketings are going to be a bit better, and that's been a change there. There's one more slaughter day in December there, so 101.7% of a year ago. And taking notes on what the cattle on feed report has when it comes out here on Friday. And remember, 96.8, 93.1, and 101.7. They're not having your cattle inventory report yet. It'll be coming out at the end of the month, January the 30th. When that comes out, be a lot of people looking for that report too. But we're anxiously awaiting how light these supplies are, and I still think this report has a lot of room to be bullish. It'll be bullish as to the data that comes out and as to the comparison against the average of the analyst guess. So should be a good one, guys. That storm's a coming. Everybody's been talking about it. It's hurt the market several dollars here, especially on calves, probably $10 to $20 on calves, and $3 to $5 or more on your feeder cattle. Just haven't had a good storm down in the southern plains and through this area for quite a while, so people aren't quite accustomed to it, but they'll be getting ready. We don't know how much snow. They say anywhere from 2 or 3 inches to a foot. So here in Missouri, where I'm at right now, I had a good visit, or I gave a presentation to a group of south central Missouri cattlemen there and cattle women. Had a good crowd there on hand. Those were educated cattle people right there in south central Missouri. They know what's going on. They had good questions. We had a good visit there, and it was interesting. but they're expecting quite a bit of snow here through Missouri and through most of Oklahoma. They have already canceled many of the early week auctions for next week, including Oklahoma National Stockyards in the city and Joplin Regional Stockyards have both canceled their Monday auctions. So don't be looking for those to be coming out. I stopped and talked to my good friend Mark Harmon, or Catfish, of those of us that know him well call him. And he doesn't even have a catfish mustache anymore, but we still call him Catfish. But Mark Harmon's such a good guy there. We had a good visit, and he said when they made the decision to cancel that sale, he had several loads on the road already on their way to Joplin Regional Stockyards. They're going to take care of those, but they shut the rest of them down. So won't be having a sale on Monday in Joplin. Let's talk about your board for Thursday. February live cattle futures were down 72 cents at 232.37. April was down less, down 12 cents at 234.82. And your back months were mixed from down 50 cents to up 2 cents. So not just kind of a mixed bag there, not of any one general direction. Feeder cattle futures for January were up 50 cents at 363.72. March was down 10 cents at 359.27. And your back months were also mixed from down 17 cents to up as much as 60 cents, and that was the farthest traded month out. But a mixed bag on your cattle futures. Let's look at the grains. About March corn was up 2 1/4 cents a bushel at 4.24. Beans for March down 1/2 cent a bushel at 10.64. And Kansas City hard red winter wheat for March up 6 cents a bushel at 5.25 3/4. Still not much direct trade in your feedlot areas to talk about. Negotiated trade, all they had on Thursday confirmed in Iowa was 200 head. They've only had 900 head all total, including those 200 head. And your market on Thursday in Iowa was 232 live. We've seen 232 and 363, which would be steady with the bottom end of the price spread from last week. Nebraska finally sold something. They've sold 100 head, and that's all they've sold direct trade out of Nebraska feedlot areas. And all they had on Thursday was mixed bag steer and heifer pen there, and they bring 365 dress. So that's steady with the top of last week's price spread on your dress market there. Kansas has still not sold a hoof there, guys. But most of your feedlots are going to be looking for 235 and 365 to 370 on Friday. There'll be a lot of business done, and if the board doesn't tank, they should get that, because packers are going to need some cattle here. So it'll be interesting to see whether they trade before the cattle on feed report comes out or after. But the cattle on feed report doesn't come out until after the board closes, so it shouldn't affect your cattle futures, your cattle on feed report, guys. There'll be no LRPs written on Friday, because that's the new rule with cattle on feed day. They have no LRPs written there. Did have some fat cattle auctions, guys. The one we're going to mention here is Kelowna Sales Barn in Kelowna, Iowa. They're a DVAuction broadcaster. They do a really good job there. That's 700 head on Thursday. Your fed steers and heifers sold 5 1/4 to 6 1/4 higher. Conventional fed cattle selling from 231 to 240. They had dairy fed cattle selling from 220 to 222. Box beef cutout values were mixed, with choice cuts higher at 134 higher at 367.45. Selects were down 72 cents at 361.75. Only about 10% of the fed cattle make the select grade. Most of them are all choice and high choice and prime, guys. Your slaughter up through Thursday of this week, estimated cattle slaughter at 447,000. That's 22,000 less than last week, 33,000 less than the same week a year ago. Let's talk about what else is going on. If you've got an auction market and you're not already broadcasting with DVAuction, you need to consider having us come install DVAuction broadcasting in your barn, guys. We've set the prices where it's not confusing on what it is. It's $1,000 for the equipment and installation and training on how to use that equipment, and then $350 a month thereafter, however many sales you have a week, guys. It's helping a lot of people out. Just this last week, or this week, guys, earlier in the week, on Monday, Live Oak Auction in Three Rivers, Texas, they had us out to come install DVAuction in their barn. They had never had broadcasting in their barn before. They were having a weaned calf special there, and they wanted to see if they could get that DV in there before they had the sale on Monday. They did. We came in and installed it over the weekend, and then we're there to make sure everything worked on Monday. Had one of our customers that buys cattle regularly on DVAuction. He was one of the bidders on the DVAuction console there. Had a lot of weaned calves in there. There's a lot of demand for those in other areas. He lived further up in North Texas, guys. Ended up buying about half the sale. So they were very tickled, and that paid them for at least a year of installing DVAuction there and having it for their weaned calf special. You guys get a hold of us. You'd like to broadcast on DV, and if you're broadcasting with somebody else, no big deal. We'll just broadcast a piggyback right on top of them, guys. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance. I was going to be talking with Kevin Charleston. I meant to stop, or planned on stopping and talking with him when I went through Carthage, Missouri on Thursday, but he was at a big LRP meeting somewhere in the islands. It looked like a pretty good place to be there, and it wasn't cold at all, but didn't get a chance to stop in and visit with him this time, but they do a really good job. I challenge you to find a insurance need that you have on your farm or ranch that they can't handle. They are a one-stop shop, full service insurance agency there, can help you with all that stuff, and also on your LRPs and PRF policies, guys. Your real-time index from DVAuction late in the day on Thursday after all your sales had concluded was sitting at 365.80. That was down 90 cents. Been down here most of this week, guys. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index at 367.41. Got some big sales coming up here at the end of the week further north of the storm, so they're still planning on having sales. Yankton, South Dakota, Stockman's livestock market up there having a bred heifer special. I tell you what, they've got 650 head of bred heifers they're going to be selling, I think, at 10:30 in the morning. So get on there early, guys, and they'll have some really nice ones for you to choose from. Be sure and get approved to bid on DVAuction there, so you can click on those if you're interested in them. And don't forget about that big sale they're having at Yahoo, Nebraska, at Yahoo Livestock. That is on Friday, and both of those sales are on Friday, actually. But the Yahoo Livestock market is having a special feeder cattle auction. They have the Helt consignment in there, and really nice cattle, about 1,500 head in one consignment. The fanciest black steers and heifers you ever laid your eyes on, guys. Let's talk about your big sales that happened on Thursday. About Mitchell Livestock Marketing in Mitchell, South Dakota, had 3,800 head there. Tell you what, they had the Greater Midwest Livestock Auctioneer Championship there in conjunction with that sale. The contest results for that competition were first place went to Ethan Schutte, he's from Kansas there. Another Kansas boy got second place, and that was Andrew Sylvester. And then third place went to my buddy Michael Imbrogno from California. So they said it was a good contest. I talked to some of the judges. They enjoyed it. Everything went fine. And they had extra buying power in there with people in the seats. You know, if all else fails, just throw an auctioneer contest, guys. Feeder steers were $1 to $6 higher, where they've been moderately lower everywhere, especially in the middle of this week with that storm coming. But they're not scared of storms up there in South Dakota, and that's up north of the storm there. Feeder heifers were unevenly steady, and Mitchell Livestock Marketing was your Superior Steel Sales, home of Superior Standard Livestock Handling Equipment. Stick out sale of the day. You look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central, and you see your best tested weights. We'll go down through them here. 163 head of 6-weight steers in Mitchell, South Dakota, averaged 646 at 420.14. There were 582 head of the 7-weight steers, averaged 755 at 379.40. 478 head of the 8-weight feeder steers in Mitchell, South Dakota, averaged 852 at 353.67. 214 head of the 9-weight steers averaged 944 at 336.71. And not on this automated marker report, but they had 117 head of 10-weight feeder steers, averaged 1073, and this is the highest big steers I've seen sell all week, guys. And they averaged 322.18, weighing 1073, guys. That's a big price. How about the heifers? They had 90 heifers in the 5-weight category, averaged 566 at 414.17. 409 head of the 6-weight heifers, averaged 655 at 381.37. 425 head of the 7-weight heifers in Mitchell, South Dakota, averaged 733 at 349.62. 351 head of the 8-weight feeder heifers averaged 842 at 327.87. And 124 head of the 9-weight feeder heifers, Mitchell Livestock Marketing, Mitchell, South Dakota, averaged 950 pounds with an average price of $324. That's the highest 9-weight heifers I've seen anywhere this week. Several individual quotes I'm going to mention from all over the country, guys. How about Orland Livestock Commission Yard in Orland, California? They're a DVAuction broadcaster there. They sold 55 steer calves, weighed 490 at 535. That's a big price. I don't care where you go, guys. How about Paris Stockyards in Paris, Kentucky? Another DVAuction barn there. 71 steers, weighed 751 at 374.25, way out east. That's a big price for those. How about Mocan Livestock Market in Butler, Missouri? They're a DVAuction broadcaster. They sold 53 big steers, weighed 833 at 361 there at Mocan. That's a Herzog sale. How about the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Thursday in your Macrosin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Sisseton Livestock Market in Sisseton, South Dakota, guys. It was 77 steers, weighed 736 and bring 418. That's your feeder flash for Friday.
Treated animals received a dose of FerAppease when they got processed at arrival, and a second one when they were reimplanted. They were fed for a period of 138 days total. So when they were brought back to be reimplanted, a second dose of FerAppease were applied on the treatment group. And first of all, mortality rate on the control animals was 3%. Mortality rate on the treated animals was 1.5%. So just the reduction in mortality rate, 1.5 steer, and I paid a lot of money for these steers.
They're high dollars.
They're high dollars. would have a return over investment of 1 to 4 by using FerAppease. That's just the icing of the cake, because the bulk of the benefits were performance. The cattle that were treated with FerAppease ate more, but they gained more weight, and they finished with their hot carcass weights being almost 16 pounds. It was 15.6 pounds more hot carcass weight on the treated animals compared to the control animals.
Now, some people may not think that's a lot, but when you're feeding cattle in a commercial environment, the margins are so tight.
Yep.
That's huge. 16 pounds on the rail, that is huge.
That is huge.
Yes.
That is huge. But not only that,
especially for such a small investment, and it's not a big deal to apply the product.
It's not a big deal to apply the product. It's a small investment. We're accomplishing all of this because the cattle is feeling better. You know, we're improving the well-being of the animals, and they're returning with health and productivity. Now, the one thing that was incredible is we also increase carcass quality. Now, FerAppease, by decreasing stress and increasing intake, it gives you the pounds, 16 pounds of hot carcass weight, but it also increases carcass quality. So marbling significantly increased.
Well, there's a correlation between excited cattle. They don't marble as well.
That's right.
As calmer cattle. So naturally that would happen.
That would happen. Yeah. And we dropped the...
You got higher marbling scores.
Higher marbling scores.
Going to give better quality grade.
You got it.
More return on their grid if you're selling them on the grid.
If you're selling them on the grid, which the majority of the cattle in the U.S. is sold on the grid. If you're selling them on live weight, they were 25 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
So you're making money. If you're selling them on the grid, there's 15.5 pounds of hot carcass weight. There's more Choice Plus. The Choice Plus was increased by almost 10 percentage points. So we dropped the percentage of select carcasses from 10% to 5%.
That's huge.
So there's a lot of money in improving carcass quality. That was the result. So long story short, low-risk cattle still suffer stress. Now you're paying not with mortality and disease, because those cattle do not get the pneumonia and respiratory disease that
You
high-risk
don't expect
cattle.
them to.
You don't expect, yeah.
Especially single source.
They usually do
Normally
good.
don't have any trouble, but it's still
Costing you.
yes, and
Still costing you in production and quality.
yeah.
So eliminating stress with FerAppease for low-risk cattle will give you more pounds, will give you more intake, which is, you know, converted to more heavier carcasses, but also better quality carcasses too.